clicker. So data about our behavior, our preferences, is the new type of gold. We are entering a data-driven era where all organizations need to embrace artificial intelligence, algorithms on large combined data sets to achieve operative efficiency and customer value. So customers and citizens expect personalized recommendations and services. And those who don't live up to these expectations quickly lose relevance. So there's an increasing divide between leaders and laggers. So at the same time as artificial intelligence is presenting, as we've heard today, enormous values to individuals, to society, to businesses, there are risks. But both the risks and the values from AI is hard to capture, and it is also not equally distributed. So I am Anna Felländer. I'm thrilled to be here today to talk about AI sustainability. AI sustainability is about embracing data-driven technologies and artificial intelligence in a purpose-driven and responsible manner. That is, identifying, measuring, and governing how artificial intelligence is scaling in a broader societal and ethical context. We've heard Simo talk from ABB today about technology shift and the second and the third and the fourth industrial revolution. Artificial intelligence is nothing new. But as mature technologies now cross-fertilize, we can store and process data cheaper. And most important is that we have an exponential input of data from sensors, face, voice recognition. So we ask artificial intelligence to make subjective decisions based on imperfect information. So that doesn't sound so comforting, does it? But now we have these huge combined data sets that the algorithm can train to augment and increase the human brain. That's why it's exploding right now. But looking back at where we are in this technological paradigm shift and the different third or fourth industrial revolution, as an economist, I look at a technological paradigm shift through the lens of general purpose technology. It's based on three technology waves with the generic underlying technology, the same generic underlying technology. And we've seen that the first wave, which always have low maturity, and the second wave have widespread use, and then the third wave in this general purpose technology way of seeing it is when you get cross-fertilization. The first wave is behind us, is the IT boom and crash. We saw a lot of productivity gain here from hardware. The second wave, the widespread use, I would claim we're really on the latter part of it, going into the third wave. This second wave, when we have this widespread use, is very consumer-driven. It is the platform economy, it's the network economy. It is the peer-to-peer, it's the automatization of work. It's a new type of trust where traditional middle hands get slashed and are reduced by recommendation and validations from peers. Moving into the third, very technology-driven wave, we see that artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, VR, all of these technologies are now mature. I would claim that AI is the game changer, since all of these technologies will include artificial intelligence. Going from the second wave, we actually created, where we are now, a shift of balance through transparency and the digitalized trust. We risk of coming into a black box phenomena with artificial intelligence so complex and so understandable from a societal point of view that we risk of going into a black box where you have no transparency and you have no power as a consumer. And why is this risk now on most of AI-driven companies' nightmare? Well, we've seen that the technology has been rushing and the profits have been seductive. And as we work in both organizations and in academia, in silos, a lot of investments has been focused on the engineering side of the AI coin, and the other side of the AI coin, the societal, has not been backed up. So if we don't invest research and use methodology and frameworks from a multidisciplinary lens, including the legal and the societal and ethical perspective, we risk of getting into a scenario where AI is leading humans and not the other way around. So some people say that artificial intelligence is an experience where you don't bother to look at the result. So we should not ask what can artificial intelligence do. We should ask what should artificial intelligence do, and humans should lead AI and not the other way around. So why is this so tricky? Why this black box? Why does artificial intelligence differ from other data-driven technologies? Well, algorithms are oftentimes targeted towards increased clicks, deepened engagement, profits, increased sales. And along the way, this self-learning, self-scaling algorithm takes decisions that has an ethical character. And without explainability models, without accurate levels of transparency and guidance, this is why, and without an updated legal framework, this is why artificial intelligence is very complex to understand when it comes to societal and ethical questions. So there's a new type of pollution, a new type of externality, a negative externality in our economy. You can call it data pollution, or what happens when you push AI applications in traditional business models without knowing the effect on society and without controlling for the unintended pitfalls when you haven't controlled for scenarios when it is self-scaling. So imagine a traditional business model. You want to push down costs and you want to increase revenue. You create reduced spill all along the value chain. You maximize efficiency. You minimize churn. You do all these things on the cost side. And on the revenue side, you deepen your client relationship by nudging, or actually what algorithms do is capitalizing on your own abilities and selecting or understanding what time of the day that your sugar consumption, you are most exposed to your sugar consumption or consumer credit, for example, etc. So what we work with the AI Sustainability Center is to incorporate this new external pollution or negative externality into the business model so that organizations capture and are responsible and also are transparent how their use of data will affect society. So this dark cloud of pollution, we've done research on to categorize it, to make practical framework to engage with organizations to mitigate the risks and the pitfalls. And from the center is multidisciplinary and multi-stakeholder by design. If I'm an economist, if I was an AI engineer, I would say, well, there are 6 types of biases, and then I will do the engineering type of definitions. Here we work with categorizing the pitfalls from organizational and societal perspectives in order to actually help them mitigate these risks. So the first pitfall is the misuse or overuse of data. So even though you are GDPR compliant, AI can create intelligence that is privacy intrusive. So in the EU, the regulators are actually debating whether the pillar in GDPR that says the right for explicit consent, is it actually suitable to demand from a citizen or a customer to grasp how different data sets could be combined and what kind of intelligence that could be created. One of our researchers at the center has done studies on, he call it the integrity paradox. It's the gap between where I say my integrity line goes and my actual digital footprints. Because what we do as citizens and consumers, we give away our data. And what we get back is convenience and time efficiency. And for example, in the case of Amazon, most of us would agree that the balance has been historically pretty equal. We give away our daily patterns and preferences, and our everyday life gets smooth, and we actually have new ideas on what film to watch or what kind of furniture to buy for the spring. Yet when Alexa comes into the picture, the balance shifts, and it's like a domestic surveillance, right? So the tipping point here is shifting, and it's about we've seen more and more cases of privacy intrusion that is shifting also the social media landscape a bit, but slowly though. The second pitfall that we categorize the dark cloud of pollution is the bias of the creator. So this is where the programmer program his or code his or her own values. Or it could also be that he or she does not know or get a straight assignment from her or his boss to maximize profits, yet there are consequences. So one example is again the Amazons, where an algorithm learned by itself that underneath a certain purchasing power, it's not cost efficient to marketing sell first-day delivery services. So the result was that they got criticized for discrimination, because it just happened so that areas in the US where only black people lived were not giving this first-day delivery services. But it was just that the algorithm had learned the cost efficiency of it. It's just an example how you need the full dimension. Immature AI, that's the third pitfall. Face recognition is used in governments as we speak, with discriminating cases of discrimination, dark-skinned females, for example. There's a lot of AI application that is immature due to low sandbox and testing, and also that the data is not structured or wide enough. The fourth pitfall is about when the data that the algorithms are working on does not reflect the reality or the preferred reality. But who's to say what the preferred reality is? Today, the large tech companies are bigger than governments. So these are examples. So for example, when we look at immature AI, we want to implement the go-to-market readiness, and we want to certify companies that they have controlled for these pitfalls. And the risks for society and the risk for organizational trust is key in order for this exchange. I give my integrity, I get service back. Is privacy intrusion, it is discrimination, it is misinterpretations, it's social exclusion and segregations. And once you violated these, it is hard to gain the trust back. When it comes to regulation, it is always so in a technological shift, that the regulation is lagging behind. It's just that it is speeding up so fast at the moment. So the regulatory pendulum, we've seen that either there could be cases of discrimination or accidents, and one alternative is that the regulatory pendulum hits too fast and hard and too blunt, and it will hamper innovation, it will hamper growth, and it will hamper productivity, and it will also be unfair on different sectors because there's different risks in different sectors. So, for example, if artificial intelligence recommendations, giving recommendations on your health status and medicine, or what kind of actions you need to take, is severe and grave if you get faulty decisions or solutions. But what about a retail company suggesting a coat that you on sale that you just bought last day on the full price? So there are very different stakes at place here. So if the regulatory pendulum doesn't act at all, there's two scenarios. Either the companies can start engaging and create best practices and standards, or we get a more and more discrimination, privacy intrusion, and there's a mistrust to the technology and the institutions that use it. And then we don't gain the value of the technology. So artificial intelligence is a game changer. So we must embrace. And this is why organization needs to stand responsible. And this is what Telia has been doing with their 9 AI ethical principles. It's what Telia has been doing, engaging in the center. These are questions that needs to be on the top of the agenda. So a coder cannot intuitively code what he or she thinks is his or her company's values of being fair. It's too diffuse. What is gender equality? This could be discussed forever. If you want sustainable marketing of your donuts, or if you are a donut company and you say that you are sustainable, you are taking care and are responsible of your customers' sugar consumption. You cannot just say that we are doing it in a responsible way, because you need to know how many calories should the algorithms push towards. The algorithm will do what the coder tells it to do. If it is maximize the sales of donut, it will do so, and it will use the person's vulnerable spots, the lows and downs of the day, to do so. You have to set an exact number. You have to say, we don't push credit consumption in this cohort above this level. It is an ethical question. It is a value statement for your company, and it will be your competitive edge to be transparent about it. So how we work is with an AI sustainability lens. So we have the technical and the legal and the societal perspective on a framework where we control for the pitfalls. And when you are through this framework, we've controlled that your values and principles are sustained in your AI application and how they scale, that you avoid these unintended pitfalls, and that you are ahead of the regulatory curve, and that you create competitive edge by trust. Because there is a trade-off between how reliable and good the model is and how explainable and transparent it is. And we know from EU that there will be regulations on explainability, transparency, and accountability. So even though the regulatory framework will be somewhat blunt, we know that this is what you need to start working on. You need to push back the euphoria on how fantastic this model can work on these combined data sets, and be aware and responsible of the impact it has on society and individuals. There is no trade-off between creating trust to your customer and explaining and be transparent on your ethical principles in your AI applications, how you use your data. So what we see looking to the future is that you have your CSR, right? You report in your yearly report, you report what you've did, and you have your AI sustainability reporting, How do we take care and handle our clients, customers, citizens' data in a responsible manner? And that is creating trust in both the second and the third wave. So we at the AI Sustainability Center are convinced that we need organizations, we need society to embrace AI. The frustration I hear from different hospitals in Sweden not being able to share data sets and the enormous values that algorithms can create if we combine the whole world's knowledge on diseases. We need to reduce those barriers, but in a responsible manner to protect people's integrity. We have China and we have the US. I think the Nordics can take a really important lead. We can never go up against China and US in money invested in it, or, as in the case of China, just using without no question of integrity. They can lead in how they can use the pattern of every footprint they can get from their citizens, which are not few. So they will lead, but we can take a stance of doing this in a purpose and responsible way. So you've heard about AI and ethics. When we've started doing research on this, the top universities were working in silos. They're still working in silos, but they're beginning to see the value of pushing down the academic faculties, and also when it comes to organizations, as we do in Telia, working cross-functional and to really bridge and broaden the understanding of this. So we don't want the profits to be in the hands of the few. I mean, we can count the companies on our left hand, right? They select our data at the cost of the integrity of the many. So what we do is we do a really practical framework. We do incorporate these externalities in the business models. We push organizations to decide the trade-offs and to make them ready for the upcoming standards on AI and ethics. So I want to welcome you all to join our website and just join the movement and the awareness. Thank you.